There's a secret in the world of private banking, and it's that your private bank is ripping you off on fees. How do I know? Because we get contacted every week by people who are overpaying private banks for basic services. And these people, they keep telling us the same thing. My private bank is killing me on fees. Please help. So in this video, I'm going to give you the exact playbook that we use to help our clients avoid getting ripped off by private banks. And yes, this is going to work with both retail and premier banks too. And it all starts with a simple idea. You don't need a private bank. Yes, we help people open private bank accounts all around the world, but call me crazy, we only like to help people open private bank accounts when they actually need them. And that's not everyone. So how do you know if you need a private bank? Well, if you answer yes to any of these 4 questions, private banking can make sense for you. Now, obviously, it should go without saying, for any of this to make sense, you do need to make a qualifying deposit, which typically means you need to deposit between $500,000 and $3 million, depending on where you want to open accounts. So question number 1 is, do you want access to specific investments? This can include specific funds, closed investments, even introductions to early stage companies. Question 2 is, can you benefit from preferred financing terms? Private banks offer extremely attractive rates, both for traditional financing like mortgages, as well as asset-backed financing against securities, which brings us to question 3. Are you looking to borrow against very unique assets? This can include a vacation home in the south of France, a collection of rare art, yacht, aircraft financing, or even an antique car collection. And question 4, do you want someone to handle all of your finances for you? This can range from structuring to tax planning, asset management to real estate financing, even inheritance and succession planning. Though you should obviously never hand over complete control, and you should always have a final say in what happens with your money. So those are the 4 questions. And if you answered yes to any of them, and you're ready to deposit between $500,000 and $3 million, then private banking might be right for you. And that means you need to take the next step in our playbook, which is everything is negotiable. If you've watched any of my past videos on private banking, you've probably heard me say this before, and that's because it's 100% true. Now, how much you can negotiate is going to depend on your client profile, your risk profile, how much money you're bringing to the table, and how the bank is planning on profiting from your relationship. Because at the end of the day, those are the key levers that you can pull as a customer of the bank in order to influence whether the bank wants you as a customer or not. And not surprisingly, the more money you bring to the table, the more leverage you have to reduce fees, improve terms, and basically make the banking relationship better for you. Now, when it comes to negotiating fees, there are generally 9 categories that most people can work with, and these include transaction fees, trading fees, discretionary management fees, active advisory fees, custody fees, investment fees, retrocessions, private banking markups and markdowns, as well as fees related to investing in in-house funds. Now, if you didn't get all that, don't worry. I recently shared a full breakdown of all of these fees with specific tactics that our clients use to negotiate lower fees, and I'll share that with you at the end of the video. First, we need to talk about the next and possibly most important step in our playbook, which is there's no monogamy in banking. Now, listen, I'm not telling you to start running around on your banker and opening accounts at every bank possible. That would be a waste of your time, energy, and money. Instead, if you can afford the deposit and you know how to protect yourself from high fees, I'm telling you to have multiple private banking relationships with the right banks that match your profile, your needs, and your desired jurisdictions. But this isn't something you should broadcast because your bankers will hate you for this. And that's because the secret mission of every private banker and wealth manager is to get every dollar that you have under their management. And I get it. That's their job. They want to increase their AUM and your relationship balance, sell you more services, and make you more dependent on the bank. But that doesn't always benefit you. And like I said, there is no monogamy in banking, so if your banker ever says you need to bring over your entire relationship to the bank, meaning all of your money and investments, say something diplomatic, like you're just dipping your toe in to make sure this is gonna work out. And depending on how everything goes, you can increase your balance later on, down the road. Because at the end of the day, you do have other options. Which brings us to number 4 in the playbook, and that is bank within your means. Now, there's nothing wrong with being aspirational, but when it comes to private banking, reaching too far beyond your current financial position can be very costly. We've seen this with a wide range of clients, including clients with larger deposits, guys with $10 million at a single bank. And that's because even though $10 million is considered a large deposit at the vast majority of banks, it's a low starting deposit at some banks. And you can say this about any level, 10 million, 5 million, 500,000, etc. Because ultimately, it depends on what is considered normal at each bank. The point is, just because a bank is willing to accept your deposit, be it 500,000 or 10 million, it doesn't mean that you should be banking there. you should first determine if that amount is big or small for that bank, even for the specific banker that you're dealing with. And that brings up an important point, because most people overlook whether they are going to be profitable or not for the bank. Are you a big fish or a small fish? Because if you choose a bank where you're just a small fish, you're probably going to end up paying higher fees and have less negotiating power than you could at banks that better match your profile. And to help you navigate through the different options, here are 7 popular private banking jurisdictions you might want to consider based on deposit requirements. And yes, deposit requirements, they are bank specific, and there's a ton of nuance in determining how much each applicant needs to deposit, but this should still give you a baseline that'll be helpful in figuring out which countries might be suitable for you. So in alphabetical order, starting with Austria, where you can expect a deposit between $500,000 and $3 million. Liechtenstein, you'll need a deposit between $500,000 and $3 million as well. And Monaco gets you a little bit higher with $500,000 to $5 million. Now, Singapore is going to start off at $3 million and get up to $5 million, while Switzerland is between $500,000 and $5 million. And then coming in last at the UK and the US, both of these jurisdictions you should expect to deposit between $1 million and $5 million. Again, this is to access private banking. And this brings us to the final step in the private banking playbook, which is that you need to do your research. And this might sound simple, but you'd be shocked how many people overlook this step before pulling the trigger and applying to banks. And what I'm really talking about is someone who has decided on a country and a bank before even doing their homework, looking at reviews, assessing account opening requirements, or even considering whether the bank wants clients with their citizenship, residency, and risk profile. These are all really important questions that need to be answered before you invest time and energy into speaking with banks, collecting required documents, submitting applications, and negotiating fees or mandates. Now, if you want help figuring out which countries and which banks are best for you and your profile, including which ones will not only provide you with the services you want, but also the specific deposits that you're interested in making, then our team would be happy to help you. Just go to globalbanks.com/apply and see if you qualify for our account opening services. Of course, you can also get started on your own, since you now know that you don't necessarily need a private bank, and you know that everything in private banking is negotiable. There's no monogamy in banking, and you need to bank within your means. And then finally, you need to assess banks before you start applying. So you can take this new knowledge and start exploring your private banking options on your own. And if you'd like a little more industry insight before you start applying, I just published a video that exposes why you should almost never bank in Switzerland, including the 3 qualifiers that will determine whether Swiss banks are a good fit for you or not. So if you're interested in learning about Swiss private banking and seeing if it's one of the options you should consider, you can give that a click, and I'll see you over there right now.